Hi, it's Madeline, and today I'm going to be reviewing The Mark of Athena by Rick Riordan. So, The Mark of Athena, if you don't already know, is the third book in the Heroes of Olympus series, and the Heroes of Olympus series follows the Percy Jackson Olympian series. I have a full series review for the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series, and then I have book reviews for the first two books in this series, The Lost Hero and The Son of Neptune. If you don't know what Percy Jackson is about, it's basically just Greek mythology and awesomeness, so you should definitely check it out if you haven't already. They're really great books. There's humor, and the Greek mythology is just done really well, and there's tons of action, and just definitely pick them up. It's definitely worth a shot. And if you haven't read The Mark of Athena, I don't know why you're here, because I'm going to be discussing everything that goes down from start to finish in this book, and there's a lot to talk about. It is a big book, and lots of things happen, and it was really, really good. I gave it a 92%. Super good. I think it's probably my favorite out of the series. I've finished all of it. So I will have book reviews coming up for the next two. But anyways, if you have not read this book, please leave because I do not want to spoil you. So goodbye. So The Mark of Athena, I really loved this book like I said before. It was so great, and I just overall amazing. Even though there was a cliffhanger, for me, I love cliffhangers, honestly. Like, I love and hate them at the same time. I just, like, it's like, I love them if you have, like, all the books in the series, like, ready to go, but if you have to wait, like, a year in between books, that's, like, the most horrible thing ever. But since I had all the books, I was good for it. I stayed up, like, well, not all night. I stayed up late for me, so that was, like, around 12:45, I believe I stayed up reading. So it's late for me. I know some people stay up till, like, 3 or 4 in the morning reading, and I'm like, okay, but I finished it and I was so glad, and I was really happy. But anyways, let's actually talk about the plot of the book. I really loved the reunion with Percy and Annabeth right off the bat, where they came in, the Argo 2 flew to New Rome, and we got the reunion between them, and then Annabeth judo flipped Percy, and that was awesome. Yes, I absolutely love that. And then I also liked how we got to see Annabeth's point of view. I was really looking forward to that in this book. I've always wanted to see the way she thinks and what her view on everything is, and that was great. I loved it. And then I liked the scene kind of before everything went wrong with New Rome, where like Annabeth and Raina were talking. I liked seeing them actually interact and meet each other, because like they are pretty similar if you think about it. So it was interesting to see them talk with each other. But then everything kind of just went downhill from there, with a possessed Leo shooting down New Rome. So that is a great way to start off a friendship with another camp. But anyways, at least we got all the 7 on the Argo 2, and we were able to get away relatively safely and get on with the book. So yeah, I liked how we had Annabeth's quest, and we had like a whole other separate prophecy for that, and we were trying to like fulfill that, and how she had to go find the Mark of Athena, like how she had to go follow the Mark of Athena and find the Athena Parthenos and avenge her mother. And supposedly the Athena Parthenos is supposed to stop like the rivalry, like it has this power and it should stop the rivalry between the Greeks and the Romans. So that would be a key aspect in the story, if they could finally just get the Greeks and Romans together without them hating each other, and then they would stand a chance against Gaia. And then at the same time, we were also learning about how Nico was trapped in a jar, and he had like 6 days left to live, and he was eating these pomegranate seeds that only like children of Hades can eat to stay alive, and he was in like this death trance, and he was trapped by these two giants, Otis and Ephialtes. I don't know what his name is. I can't pronounce it. All these names are just like so annoying to pronounce. Anyways, but we had these two things going on, and I really liked it, and it made like for a lot of awesome action and such. I believe it was Leo and Hazel. They had to go off onto an island to find supplies to repair the Argo 2 because it got damaged during that New Rome thing. So while they were there, they met Nemesis. And again, I felt really bad for Leo because she told him she was the seventh wheel, or she told him he was going to be like the seventh wheel of the seven. And it was just, I don't know. He's one of my favorite characters. He's up there with Percy and Annabeth. So I feel really bad for him. So, and then after that, we had this whole episode with like the nymphs and Echo and Narcissus, I believe that's how you pronounce it, with the whole like Team Leo thing. Like, that whole scene was just hilarious. I loved everything about that scene. It was really fun to read, and yeah, I just loved that. But then they ended up back at the ship after that, trying to get away from all the bad nymphs. Later we were with Percy and Piper and Jason, and when they went out to see Bacchus because of like Piper's knife, like her knife was really cool because she couldn't see into the future with that. It shows kind of like scenes from the future, but they're not usually good scenes, whatever, but that was interesting. So the three of them went out to see Dionysus / Bacchus, if that's how I pronounce it. So we learned that like the gods are like kind of just like useless at this point because like they're switching from Greek to Roman all the time. Again, these things that had possessed Leo, they came and possessed Percy and Jason. They almost like killed each other because of that. So I'm glad Piper is becoming more and more useful. Like, not that she wasn't before, but she's just becoming stronger and more capable and just more confident in herself with her powers and everything in these books. And I was glad she took charge, and like her charm speak is really coming in handy. And like back on the ship later where she told them to not come back and to not possess anyone on the ship, like, and swear down the river Styx, and that was great. That was like a really powerful moment for her. And then kind of afterwards we had we learned that like kind of like Percy is starting to develop this fear of drowning after his quest in Alaska, where he was like pulled under with the mud and couldn't breathe. And when he was in that aquarium, he could just feel like the fear rising in him. I'm like, snap out of it, you were like the son of the god of the sea. And then like while they were in the aquarium to find Forces and to try and find some information, they were like obviously something was fishy. They were sponsored by Monster Donut, for crying out loud, and there was like Keto, the goddess of like sea monsters or something, I think, something like that. And you know, you can just see his fear rising, and I think he's overcome, like at the end of the book he's kind of overcome it, like after he survived with all that like the poison water. I think that pretty much cleared it up for him. But I don't know, I was kind of like, snap out of it, you're the son of the sea god, you've like won a war against the Titans and everything, like, you shouldn't be afraid of drowning. But you know, things like that happened. And like while they were in the aquarium, they found out about this map in Charleston that was supposed to help Annabeth in her quest to find the Mark of Athena. And oh, speaking of the Mark of Athena, like, in Athena herself, like, I don't know, she was like talking, like when Annabeth, we got to see like what happened when her mom visited her, like when she was coming home from Sally's house. I loved how like her and Sally had this nice like relationship. I wish we saw more of her in the series. But anyways, I liked their like relationship and how she would go to her and comfort her, and they comfort each other about Percy missing, and I really like that. Yeah, anyways, with like Annabeth and her mom, I was just like, she's like, you're a failure to me, and I was just like, I understand like she was having trouble because of like switching to Greek and Roman, but still, like, Annabeth felt like really down about that and discouraged. And on a side note, there was this like really awesome, there's a scene with Chinese handcuffs and Frank turning into an iguana. I really liked that. There was like a nice tension breaker in there, and that was awesome. That was really funny. And then after that, we got into some more serious stuff. Like Annabeth was finding the map in Charleston, and she saw kind of like the Mark of Athena, and there was like spiders and everything. And then after that, or maybe it was before that, I'm trying to remember, but they met Piper, Hazel, and Annabeth met with like Aphrodite, and then the Romans started catching up with them. So, you know, Percy had to use his powers and sweep Octavian and all the other Romans into the ocean. That was great. I really hate Octavian. He is horrible. I mentioned that in my last video, and that kid needs to die. And then I totally forgot about this until I looked at my notes, but with Hazel and Leo, how like Leo looked like her friend or boyfriend Sammy from the past, and then when they went back into her memories and they figured out that Sammy was actually Leo's like great grandfather, that was really interesting how that was tied into the story. Like, I love how Rick Riordan like brings in things from people's past or from other books and just knits them in to the story. I really love that, and it was very interesting. I don't really know what that has to do exactly with the story. We'll see where that goes, but like, you can't just do something for nothing. But I guess that just made things a little bit more complicated between Hazel and Leo. And then after that, they had the Shrimpzilla attack with a giant shrimp, and I love that. Like, when Percy came up on deck, he's like, "What's going on? Ah, Shrimpzilla!" Like, I love that. That was awesome. That's just, I love the humor in these books. It's just amazing. I just love it. It's just like especially like Leo and Percy. Like, I love reading their chapters, especially Leo's chapters. Those are more funny than Percy's, actually. Just like all the little comments. Humor is like a really nice tension break, and it's just a very nice addition to the story. I always love reading funny or snarky, sarcastic characters. Those are like my absolute favorite. So I love it when they're included in the story. Anyways, we had the Shrimpzilla attack, and then we had Frank, Hazel, and Leo underwater with those Merpeople, I think, and it was kind of like a Camp Merpeople. It was like training for Merpeople. It's kind of like Camp Half-Blood, but for Merpeople. So, and like, I know, like, they didn't want to meet Percy, and Percy was like so offended. He was like, "They didn't want to meet me." I'm like, it's only Merpeople, but whatever. Oh, okay, and then as the other two is sailing along, I'm forgetting a lot about this because it's been a week or so since I've read it, because I've just been reading all of them, and I need to get out book reviews quicker than I should. But yes, they were sailing and they ran into like Hercules, who turned out to be a complete jerk, and I just didn't like him. And they Piper and Jason went out to talk to him. They had to go on this kind of like mini quest to like cut off the horn of this like river god, and it was kind of sad because he seemed like a really nice guy, but then he tried to kill them. So they kind of had to take his horn. And so then Piper has this cornucopia with her now that she can like shoot fruit out of and food. So I thought it's pretty awesome. She always has it like slung over her shoulder, and that's an interesting weapon if you ask me. And since Piper and Jason got the horn, and like, I loved how Piper stood up to like kind of just defeat Hercules. Like, he was such a jerk. I was really glad that she stood up to him, and then they were able to sail through the canal, or not the canal. They were able to continue sailing, and then on the sea or in the air, whenever they're doing, like, just traveling in general, just because they're in Greece and Rome and whatever, they're just so many more monsters that are being attacked constantly. So after that, we had this attack from these like half dolphin people. That was weird. That was really weird, and I was glad that Percy had a plan. He actually came up with a plan right on his feet and was able to defeat them. They were afraid of Dionysus because they had turned them into he had turned them into dolphin people hybrids. So they Percy got out the Diet Coke. It was like, what was the scene? So it was like Percy strode over to the magical cooler. No one tried to stop him. He knocked open the lid and rummaged through the ice. There had to be one. Please. He was rewarded with a silver red can of soda. He brandished it at the dolphin warriors, and they sprayed them with bug repellent. "Behold," Percy shouted, "the god's chosen beverage. Tremble before the horror of Diet Coke." And I love that line. That was just hilarious. And the dolphin people start freaking out because of Dionysus, and I love that scene. That was awesome. I love all the scenes, really. If you haven't noticed already, Rick Riordan's writing is just amazing. And then after that, they finally got to Rome, I believe. They finally got to where they needed to be, so that Annabeth could go on her quest, and that everyone else could try and prevent Rome from being destroyed and save Miko and defeat those two giants. So Annabeth went off onto her quest, and her quest was awesome. I loved how she was just outsmarting all of these like all these ghosts. And let me find this again. I need to create another scene. So these like ghosts, they were kind of like against having a female warrior, and then she also saw like all of her dead siblings, like all the people that had gone on the quest before her who had failed. And so, you know, she was just figuring things out, because like Annabeth is really smart, like any child with Athena, but she seems smarter than most of them. Mithras was born from rock, Annabeth said, hoping she was right. He emerged fully grown from the stone, holding his dagger and torch. The screaming and wailing told her she had guessed correctly. The big mother knows all, a ghost cried. That is our most closely guarded secret. Then maybe you shouldn't put a statue of it on your altar, Annabeth thought. So I loved this sass and how she's just like, these guys are idiots. But the actual like following the mark of Athena was just crazy. How she had, like she broke her ankle, and she, how she was beat Arachne. Like she was like convincing her with her. She was talking, and she was like convincing her, using her pride against her, and convincing her that she could have her silk weavings all Mount Olympus, and she convinced her to make this thing. And it was basically like the Chinese handcuffs, like Frank, and she got her to go inside to see an imperfection, and she was able to trap Arachne, and that was just amazing. I love that. And then simultaneously, while this is going on, we had a fight with, I think Dionysus showed up, and we had Percy. We had like a fight going on with the two giants, and we got Nico freed, and he was like super sick, like on his last day. And we prevented Rome from being blown to bits, basically. And those two giants are kind of annoying. They're just like the anti-Dionysus, so they're like really showy and everything. They're just, I don't know, poor excuse for giants, they're just whatever. But then we have the cliffhanger, and Rick Riordan took the term cliffhanger a little bit too seriously. Oh my word. We have this at the end, and Percy and everyone else come to get the Athena Parthenos and Annabeth, and Annabeth has like the silk weaving still around her, and the floor is not stable, so it starts to crack, and things start going downhill from there as people are trying to secure the Athena Parthenos. Annabeth begins to fall into the hole and into Tartarus, and oh my gosh, it just like I'm so glad Percy ended up going with her, because he grabbed her hand, and they were just like hanging off the cliff, and then he told Nico to go to the doors of death, to go to the house of Hades and meet him on the other side. I was so glad Nico was loyal, and he said he was going to fulfill his promise, and only fell into Tartarus, and it ended, oh my word, oh my gosh, just like, I stayed up so late finishing that, well, late for me, like I said, but it was so good though, like, especially since I had the next book, I could just jump right into it, and it was just so good. Oh my word, just, really good. And it's just sad at the same time, but it'll be interesting to see, like, what Tartarus is like through Percy and Annabeth's eyes, and what's gonna go down there. And I mean, like, couldn't, like, anyone, like, people were screaming, like, Hazel was screaming, and she's like, guys, come help them, they're falling into Tartarus. Like, wouldn't have anyone heard? Couldn't have Jason flown over, Frank flown over, just, but such a good ending, but such a good and bad ending, it's just, cliffhangers. Anyways, that was my book review for The Mark of Athena. Let me know what you thought of this book down below in the comments. I hope you liked this video, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.